Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast. And it is our season reviews, and we've gone Burnley today. We have gone Claret and Blue. Dan is here, and we will introduce Dan in a moment. Of course, Burnley's season not quite what anticipated, but Dan is here to give it as much positivity as he can. If not, it will be a therapy session. however Dan wants this to go. But let me introduce my guest, of course, my superb co-host, who obviously joins us on the Absolute Football Podcast, has been on the Premier League show, will be on the Low League, hopefully on the Premier League. He's always welcome on the Premier League show. It is, of course, Turf Moorhouse. It is Dan. How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. I've had a few weeks to process it. Then I was in the midst of no football, and now we've got the Euros, so we've got something else to be miserable at, probably.
Yeah, hopefully at least a week or two.
At least get out the group stage or something.
Exactly. Although after the first game, the media they're already causing chaos. So yeah, it's all downbeat, isn't it? But we're not downbeat on this podcast. Never going to be downbeat. No, but we are going to analyse what's happened. Of course, Burnley last season in the Premier League. So before we kick anything off, just an overview video of how Burnley got on in 22-23, going into the 23-24 season.
Burnley, of course, had a fantastic campaign in the 2022-23 season, winning the Championship at a canter and returning to the Premier League at the first time of asking. The Clarets totalled 101 points with 29 wins as they finished 10 points clear of second place Sheffield United. Vincent Kompany had taken the helm with his first appointment in English football, joining from Anderlecht after his glittering playing career at Manchester City. His style of football with a number of loan players lit up the Championship, but with many players moving on and coming in and a higher standard of opposition, it looked like a completely different prospect as they came up to the Premier League.
And there we go. So, wow, should we just review that season, Dan? That was unbelievable. You're champions of the Championship, fantastic number of points. How were you feeling at the end of that season going back to the Premier League?
Remarkable. Absolute wonder season. I think probably one of the best Championship seasons I've ever personally seen in Claret and Blue. I think we tried to build something and managed it. A lot of us were doubting it after the season prior of coming down, losing key players like Ben Mee, Tarkowski, Dwight McNeil, Nick Pope. We lost that back three that has been very pivotal for Burnley, and we managed to change it round, we delved into the foreign market, something very, strange for us. Vincent Kompany came in, brought a philosophy, a style of football, was stuck to his guns with that as well. Didn't want to change it up. And it worked for us in the Championship, worked very, very well. And not many teams can say they've won the title in their own rival's backyard. It puts that 95 and winning the Premier League to shame. Leave them there.
It does. It's a very, very special moment. Very special moment. A very special season, and as you said, a very different Burnley to the one that came down, and a very different style. Vincent Kompany, I'm sure, will come on to discussion about later. Very attractive football, successful style for the Championship, and of course, then going into the Premier League. Were you kind of, as you went into the Premier League, were you worried at the outset that style would be what you'd need to stay up prior to, we'll talk about transfers in a minute, but prior to any transfer, did you think style-wise, is this the right way to go?
I was hoping it would have a better impact than what it actually did. But I'm glad he sort of stuck to the same tactic. You can see a lot of managers think, right, this ain't working, let's change it. But he doesn't want to not play attractive football. He wants to keep this, momentum flowing, getting that free flowing, playing out from the back. Something we're not used to seeing at Burnley because, like I said, the season prior to the very good Championship season, it was lofted, ball over the top, Sean Dash, Route 1 stuff. So we've absolutely ripped up the rule book and everyone's started to look at Burnley and it's like, what? Who? And we became an attractive outfit, which is something that, it was nice to see because since being always labelled as a selling club per se, but it was looking back now, is the naivety at the fact we played that way potentially? Is there some selfishness or self-love from a said manager? Who knows? But all in all, I thought we would be a success coming up. I honestly thought, head and heart, we all say where we'd ideally want to finish, but I kept real as well and said 17th and above, I'd snap your hand off right now. But a lot of people were saying, watch out for Burnley next season. We're a lot of people's underdogs of we're going to do something after coming up. And we did at Burnley and we let everybody down.
Hopes and dreams were certainly there. I mean, I think in the predictions, I'm sure, I can't remember if I had you 14th or 15th. I just
I'm going to say about 13th, 14th, 15th. That's where I sort of put us as well, to be fair.
And I did think style-wise, but I didn't think he'd quite be as stubborn as he was. I thought maybe at first and then slight adjustments. And I thought, that you would. And I think, to be fair, I made that assessment, and we'll come on to transfers now, because I think a lot of that was based off, say, some of the squad last season. Now, I suppose some of the big outgoings were probably some of the loan deals that you had. Obviously, switch over. Nathan Teller in particular was a huge one to people like Harwood Bellis, and that didn't stay. Do you think that was a first warning signs, or because there were so many players coming in, it was kind of hard to keep track of what you had and what you didn't?
Yeah, it was, I think, as well, a bit of a learning curve for the transfer team as well, of how they deal with a lot of stuff. I mean, the season we came down, I think they realised the error they made when we sold Maxwell Cornet to West Ham, that he had such a cheap release clause upon us getting relegated to the Championship, that the club sort of realised, if we're going to get players in on loan, let's at least try and get them with a view to hopefully enjoying their stay and wanting to stay. I thought we achieved that. I think we had a togetherness. We had a family, tight-knit group. You actually felt as a fan like you were part of that playing squad as well. You felt like you could have hit any of those players up on Instagram and they'd have gone for a pint with you. That's how tight and close you felt. When the season ended, like I said, the optimism, the ecstasy of getting promoted and winning the league was still there. But it was a case of, can we share up these loan moves? Nathan Teller and Ian Matson, for me, were the two that throughout the season I kept changing between my priority signing. But the second half of the season, Ian Matson fell off a little bit. So Nathan Teller became it must have. He needs to be, he wants to be here. And it never came off. From what I've heard, is that Southampton basically hired a mediator to deal with the Nathan Teller transfer. We then offered them eventually what they wanted, and Southampton still decided to play hardball. So we just said, look, we've given you what you wanted. You've turned us away. What's the point? So we didn't go through with it. But I think if it was anything between an extra 2 to 5 million, I'd have paid it stupidly. Especially when transfer deadline day, we reportedly on Sky Sports offered 35 million for Ian Matson. I don't know where we've got these numbers from, or whether we've got a Wonga loan or something. I haven't a clue. But yeah, Matson really wanted to come as the season ended and things, but new manager at Chelsea in Poch, Big Ian were given a chance out in America as well by Poch, and he took it to some aplomb, played really well. But then, as most managers do, the season comes around and all of a sudden you're not wanted. So these players have gone on to do pretty decent now at Dortmund, and a season unbeaten at Leverkusen, so I can't fault them. Harwood Bellis was a tough one. I thought we'd have had something in there with Kompany's links, maybe a potential signing on deal at the end of it. But we did cheer up Jordan Bayer, and he was absolutely solid that season. Unfortunately, we didn't see much of him last year due to his injury. But fingers crossed we can get the big German battling and fighting hard again next season.
Yeah, as you said, I'd say in particular Matson and Teller. So Teller by Leverkusen champions, Matson Dortmund made the Champions League final. So this sort of shows the talent you had at your disposal the previous season. and obviously those deals didn't go through, but there was a number of deals that did go through for you, and so there was quite a number of players that joined in. So I'm just sort of picking up the list here for some of the sort of high profile ones that you had. So you obviously had Dara O'Shea came in, centre back. Jordan Barry, as you said, you turned the loan into a permanent £13 million. You had Michael Obafemi from Swansea, Ziki Anduni came in. James Trafford came in for big money. Luca Koleosho from Espanyol, Sander Berger from Sheffield United, Aaron Ramsey from Aston Villa, and the list kind of goes on and on and on. At the kind of new signings, were you, I suppose, first of all, any you were particularly excited about, and was the number of transfers alarming or more exciting to you? Talents that you had
At the time, exciting, because it was like, wow, again, we've gone up and we're actually spending money similar to what we did in the Championship. So I'm thinking maybe these American owners do have the pedigree and the finances to back up their claims of what they want to achieve. And I've never once faulted the board at all. I thought they've always had the club's best interests at heart. And I think just seeing Burnley announce a signing of a foreign player, just when you see somebody coming in called Luca Koleosho, you just think, even with the name, hopefully he's good.
It's the name that always sinks you, and if you hear it, and you go, the name, he must be. I remember when United signed Jesper Blomqvist, I was just like, it just sounds technical.
It is the more exotic, the more you think there's a player in there. It's quality. But yeah, I think we believed the hype of what Kompany were trying to do. We definitely needed permanent players, put it that way. After the season, with having a good bulk of loanees, you need to shore up that squad. Otherwise, you're forever going to be living in the loan market. And if you're a club with ambition, you've got to potentially try and throw some money at it. We did do that. Obviously, I think Luca Koleosho has to be probably one of the bargains of the season last season. Unfortunately, again, similar to Bayer, we didn't really get to see much of him. Had an injury, but for such a young lad, that guy has talent and will go on to be a world-class star at some point. But Sander Berg was a very interesting one for me, because Sheffield United, who obviously came up with us, they then ended up selling all their best players. And everyone's wondering, like, what's going on here? Is they, a bit of a ruckus at boardroom level? Do they not trust Heckingbottom in the end? It proved they didn't. But apparently Heckingbottom didn't even know that Sander Berg had gone until he'd seen a picture of Sander Berg at Burnley's training ground. So it had all been done by the board. And this is a player, by the way, who was linked with a move to Liverpool literally half the season before.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, how have you done this? Clearly, the pulling power of the name of Vincent Kompany is driving these players to Turf Moor. Like, it's so surreal. How can you go from the highs of Monaco and Lille and all these different places to something that looks like, I don't know, a B-Tech version of Coronation Street? It's just not. It's not. It's strange, but I was over the moon that it was happening, and it got me really pumped for the beginning of the season. And I think that leads us into being pumped on the opening day of the season.
It does. But just before we get there, we'll start on something else. It's always I like to start these season reviews that we've done, because one of the most exciting things of the new season that comes in, of course, is the new season of football shirts. Of course, it's one of the most exciting things that we have. There we are. So what do we think? Home away shirt and third shirt all up there on the screen. Unless you're listening to audio, come and check us out on YouTube and you can have a look, or just Google the shirts. They're available if you still want them, I'm sure, in the sales. What's your favourite out of those three? Any that grabbed you as you came up?
The third one was quite nice. I think most of our third kits have always been pretty decent. We found it funny the way they advertised the third kit, because they said, it's the famous floodlights. And I'm thinking, since when has anybody gone, oh, have you been to Turf Moor? Have you seen those floodlights are to die for?
Oh, a lovely light.
Oh,
Love a good light.
oh, trust me, I get my phone out. You don't even have to face recognize me. The lighting is so on point. My phone's unlocked as I pull it out of my pocket. It was so surreal how they sold it, but I love the colouring of it. It's a bit different to what we used to. I do enjoy a collar on a shirt. I must say, I do enjoy a collar on a shirt. So that was a nice touch for the home shirt. The away one was a bit strange. I mean, a lot of fans did ask for a yellow away kit, as it had been a while since we had one. So if I had to rank them in order, I probably would say third kit first, home kit second, and away kit last. But I've got all three. I normally just get one. However, I somehow managed to wangle all three in.
Managed to collect the set of three.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Take advantage. So those, of course, were the shirts, and of course, you said the Premier League. So we're going to run through the Premier League in kind of a story mode through the kind of set of games, and we'll pick out sort of a couple of how you were feeling in those moments and some big games. And we start here. Say we'll start with day one. Of course, you were the first team to play, Burnley versus Manchester City on opening day. So an absolutely straightforward one to kick your season back into the Premier League off. How are you feeling? Obviously, excitement, I suppose. Premier League coming back and not expecting anything from City really in that opening game. Just seeing some of your new players, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think I'll never forget that opening day, just due to the sheer fact that everything I wanted to do, I sort of didn't and couldn't. I did before the pictures were released months prior. I'd booked a weekend away with the missus and kids. So we'd gone up to the lakes to like a little glamping pod up there. And I got a message, off Justine, who owns the Royal Dash pub. And she said, Sky are coming down. You know, I've seen what you do on YouTube and stuff. Come down, talk about Burnley. So I went, look, I've got somewhere I'm going away soon. I can come down and do that. So I said, I've got time to do that. Then get in the car and literally go straight to the lakes. So she went, all right, no worries. Goes down, does the little bit for Sky and everything else. Then gets told, thank you, mate. That was brilliant. Could you just sign this form? So I signed the form. So then we talked, brilliant. Justine said you'd be all right for after. We've got Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher coming in. They're going to be having a pint and a chat with Burnley fans, but we want you to be stood with them when we pan to them on TV and having a drink, chat about football. And I was like, I really just want, yeah. And I'm just thinking, as soon as I've had this conversation, I'm in a car and going up to the lakes. So I really wanted to just message the missus and just say, like, I've been told that I want to do that. I've been asked to do this. Yeah, Mum, I've made it. And yeah, I ended up going up to the lakes, watched it in a pub up there. And then luckily I saw myself on the interview and there were a few people going, like, that's you? But obviously, unfortunately, I didn't get to sit and have a beer with G Nev and Gara, unfortunately.
Oh, never mind. I'm sure you've had beers with lots of lovely people. They're the ones missing out. They didn't get a beer with Dan, did we? We went all the way to Burnley and we didn't get a beer with Dan.
Snooze, you lose.
Sad times for them. But of course, they lost to Manchester City, and then say off the back of that, Aston Villa and Tottenham. Obviously, Aston Villa ended up having a phenomenal season, above expectations for everybody. And Tottenham started stronger, I think, than a lot of people did. So, I mean, those first three games, you were seeing some quality sides going, okay, well, it's just a rough ride. We're bedding in.
Yeah, you could see little signs of what we could get to, where we could get to if it worked. But for me, like I say, coming up, getting promoted, losing those low knees, it was almost like ripping up the starting 11 and we're showing a brand new 11 here out on the pitch. So you've got players from, You've got Lyle Foster, South African, Corley Osho, Italian/American/whatever he chooses next week. You've got Sander Berg, Norwegian. You've got all these different nationalities all merged into one, and you're expecting them to understand each other, read each other's game, and it's not going to happen straight away. So we was hoping eventually it would click. The signs were there that it would come, but when, nobody was to know. And 3 tough games, to be fair, to start the season. You're coming up against, champions. Then you come up against Villa, who obviously now we can say had a storm of a season. The Spurs game, for me, I actually thought we was going to get something from. I honestly thought we would get something from that game. The way we started, I think the first opening 20 minutes, we were all over them. And in the end, the scoreline doesn't lie, let's put it that way. But it's all about taking your chances. That's what it's been a season of this year. Every time we sort of had the ball in front of goal, there's not been anybody there to put an end to the move. And it's bit us in the backside, because it's moments like that where the opposition wake up and go, "Oh, we're in a game here. Let's kick it up a notch." And teams of the quality of Spurs, Villa, City have the B team and C team to do that.
They do indeed, and Tottenham had started, and they gelled really quickly. They gelled really quickly on the round. I don't think a lot of people thought Tottenham would sort of struggle, and they had, if anything, as the season went on, they sort of faded with different things, and obviously conceding a number of goals, but to two quality sides. But you managed to get a point in the bag at Nottingham Forest. The season begins. Before a loss against Manchester United and Newcastle, of course, were both in the top 4 from the previous season. And then Luton, the 2-1 win. So you were, I suppose, Forest and Luton were the 2 games you went, we need some points out of. Luton, good win away from home, Forest a draw. So after that sort of first 7 games, 4 points, but a rough start. So were you feeling fair or hardly done by?
Yeah, I think we always had optimism. We always didn't write ourselves off. We knew we were going to go into these games as underdogs. I think it's like something that Leicester this season will probably find it out, that they're not going to have 60% possession of the ball in the Premier League the way they've been playing. Obviously, they're now going to have to find a different avenue with a new manager. But yeah, there was still belief and optimism there that we're still fine. We're just finding our feet. We've practically got a school team together with how young our squad were, because especially having probably 2 seasons prior, having one of the oldest teams in the Premier League to having now one of the youngest, if not the youngest. So it was intriguing, and we never writ ourselves off. Yes, we were frustrated at times, of course we were, because all players make mistakes, but no one ever shouted, VK out or anything like that. Everyone was fully behind him and thought this young manager deserves a chance.
That's it. And so looking at the fixtures you had, a load of new players sort of coming in, and that you're going to give time, aren't you? You're going to give time the support. The season that you had, first season, and it deserved it. The season you'd had in the Championship, to see how Kompany and the team would develop in there. So win against Luton, so it started to look positive, and then as we move forward into the next games, it's helpful. There is a green in there. There is a green in there. Don't worry, we do get to a win. But a run of very tricky games, more goals conceded. Was this the time at the start of the season you started to think we're a little bit too open here, or a little bit too dark? Did you start to see the style being an issue? Were you hoping for changes, or just thinking let's just ride it out and trust the process?
Yeah, there was a lot of doing an Arsenal, shall we say, trusting the process and hoping that it would eventually bear fruits. I look at that Bournemouth game, especially at the time, Iriola was on the cusp of being sacked.
He was under pressure massively.
He was massively, and I think that there was talks that if he loses that game to Burnley, that's it. He's gone. So we went there with optimism, especially the season prior when we beat them in the cup. When we're in the Championship. So we had that optimism of, we've been down to Bournemouth, we've done it, we can do it again. So to come away from that game, I think obviously there was a few VAR decisions. We could have had a goal in there as well. VAR really confused me that day because it originally showed a green line of Rodriguez onside for an equaliser, and then it came off, came back with a red line, and now said he's offside. So there was a lot of confusion, but it's just it is tough. I mean, look at all them games there. Apart from Bournemouth, you've literally spent half of your time in the capital, having to come up against these sides, and they're not easy sides either. So I'm at this point. There was questions about whether playing the high line was too high, whether trying to play out from the back was too dangerous, so we're prone to counters and quick Gegen press, shall we say? Trying to attack that defense very quickly. But then that Sheffield United game came around, and again it was like, oh, so maybe this does work. It just probably doesn't work against decent teams. I'm glad we got the 5-0, by the way, because in the Championship the season before they beat us 5-1. And obviously at the time we were both battling it out for first and second place. Mm-hmm. So I think after that game, it sort of ignited a torch in the bellies of half of the Burnley players, and we stole a march and went on to win the league. But we wanted revenge, and I think Kompany wanted it personally as well. So to get that, you always hope after that one win. There's always optimism. Is this where the run starts? Is this where it continues? But this is Burnley.
Spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning. Nothing gets the runs in Burnley unless you've had a dodgy takeaway. There's plenty of them round here.
And Sheffield United certainly had a dodgy something on that day and many days in the Premier League. I think, as you say, it kind of shows that, because if we're, being completely honest, Sheffield United were playing as a Championship team in the Premier League. There's no doubt about it. The squad that they had, and that was the level, and they were pumped on multiple occasions. Massive goals against, goal difference ridiculous, and so, as you say, from your benefit, it's one that you didn't win last season, but you won in in big fashion when you kind of needed to. And as you said,
I had to laugh though, Sam. I had to laugh when we was on a Premier League show with Lucas, and he said, "Yeah, Sheffield United are awful. We've put 11 past them this season," and I went, "You think that's good as Arsenal?" I said, "We put 9 past them." He went, "Oh yeah, you did."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I did, as Lucas was upset. So is pretty much everybody. Apart from Man United, we had a sticky patch against them, but they did against everybody. So yeah, Sheffield United were not. Sheffield United, not a great season for them. And I suppose from your position, it was nice because you were kind of like, well, we're not the worst team here. That team's we're not worried about them, but we can worry about the two above.
100%.
And talking of sort of those above that we were kind of challenging, we've got obviously Everton in that list. So I mean, obviously Everton were a weird enigma for teams around them this season, because obviously you had the issues with FFP, points deductions. There was rumours. Then they got a points deduction. Then they got some back rescinded. Then there was the second. How did you find all the changes, the points deductions, with what you had kind of the job on the table to try and get Burnley to survive? How were you sort of dealing with all of those constant changes throughout the season?
Oh, I was hoping they got proper punished. I was hoping they had every point taken off them. It was
automatically relegated.
Oh yeah, automatically got a big fat R at the side of the name. But then on the contrary, I wanted us to do our own job. If we're going to survive, I want us to do it on merit. I don't want a ghost goal or any of this. It didn't cross the line like Villa got. Funnily enough, against Sheffield United. I didn't want any of that. Sometimes you've got to have luck. Of course you have. But I think our luck run at the start of the season when we played Manchester City and we realised that this isn't the Championship. You're in the big leagues now. Lace your boots up, guys, because you're going to get the hard knocks. So yeah, I think a lot of people were just talking about the points deductions, weren't they, saying about how Everton, they've been a stalwart of the Premier League. They've never been relegated. And then the season prior, when they obviously just stayed up, again, remarkable job by Sean Dyche. He's very good at doing stuff like that. Yeah, pulls off another miracle that this season just gone. They seem to get the results. Didn't come like it did the season prior, where they went on a run. They got the odd point here and there when they needed it. But obviously, for Forest and Everton, I was looking and thinking, well, they are still down there with us. So there is a good chance. I'd snap your hand off for it, but ideally, I would have preferred it if we were able to do our own job and not rely on, FFP.
Well, that was it, because Everton, if you took away the kind of points deduction and where they actually would sort of finish and sitting in the table, they were doing really, they did really well. The defence was super strong. I think Pickford was one of the best save records in there. So some of the shots were flying at him, but I mean, in terms of Branthwaite alongside Tarkowski, brilliant centre-back pairing. So Everton, it was kind of a false dawn, I think. Like, it was the points deduction that was causing the issue, but they were strong enough, well strong enough to not kind of be a part of there. And say we'll come on to the sort of halfway through table and say at that point Forest are down there as well with kind of their position on deductions, etc. Was it really Forest and Luton that you thought there's a four-way battle? Was there any point you thought outside of Everton and FFP, anybody else that was going to get drawn in at that stage?
Yeah, I was looking at Brentford. I was very worried for them. I thought they're going to have maybe, to be honest, I think what saved them was keeping Thomas Franklin as manager. Personally, I think they could have easily got rid and just crumbled, absolutely crumbled. But Brentford at home, it's always a tough place going to their new stadium, and I sort of like Brentford. I've got a soft spot for Brentford out of all London teams. But yeah, obviously Palace turned a corner as the season went on with Glasner coming in. Unfortunately, we were Ollie Glasner's first game in charge, so that new manager bounce.
Yeah.
Not that they probably need it; they were playing Burnley. Let's not forget. But yeah, you've got to look at the three that got promoted: ourselves, Sheffield United, and Luton, and with Forest in there, the points deductions and everything that were going on with them whinging about VAR and Marinakis out on the pitch and employing a former Premier League referee just to be a yes man to how they see things. It was just all a bit. It had all gone a bit Pete Tong in the league at this point, and I just thought, let the outside noise do what it's doing, and let's sort our own crap out. And we just decided to build a bigger hut to store more crap.
keep digging that hole. It was chaos, wasn't it? When you look back and say the FFP, the stuff that was going on with Forest was balmy at time. I mean, everyone at some stage of the season had an issue with VAR and this, that, and the other. And
this is what gets me with what's happened this season, though, Sam. Like Wolves put in that application of let's not have VAR. Forest have been a massive advocate for we've been done over. Again, Marinakis at the side of the pitch. It's just, and then they go and view in favour of it.
Yeah, and it will whinge about it when it doesn't, and then actually when we think about it, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because at the minute, say we're watching Euro 2024, and they kind of their VAR, particularly when it comes to offsides, with this kind of 3D and the speed of it. So far, it seems to be.
They brought the cricket noise thing in, haven't they, now?
The snickometer, yeah. The snickometer
really
just
strange.
to check that it's a handball, and it's like, well, you can see it, the movement of the, Snickometers it's a bit like we've got a bit of technology, so we'll just put it in there. Looks nice on a graph, doesn't it, as it comes up? But maybe that's Premier League. That's what Nottingham Forest are calling for: more snickometers next season, and then it'll be clearer for everybody what's going on. So we're into the second half of the season, and a difficult run at this point. The wins just aren't coming. Again, difficult games in there: Villa, City, Liverpool, Arsenal. But also probably most disappointing draws with Luton and Fulham. They're the kind of games you were hoping for 3 points.
Yeah, that game away at Villa, we should have come away with something. We were. I still am adamant to this day we were cheated out of 3 points in that game. Their first goal, McGinn, has basically done what John McGinn does, stuck his arse out, and basically made a bit of a, made himself big, and got away with it. And then Douglas Luiz ends up taking one of our players out. They're allowed to then go up the other end. He plays a 1-2, gets the ball back, scores, and you're just like, how? Why is this not given? So we were a bit aggrieved in that game. I think that was one of the first games we actually sent letters to the Premier League and said, this isn't on. We've had cases against this, and this. And the Premier League sent us a letter back saying, sorry for 4 of the 5 of them, I think it was. But that Luton game, again, controversy. A lot of people, you can see it how you want to. I'll be honest, I'll say it without claret tinted glasses or without any glasses at the moment. But obviously, we were 1-0 up till dying moments of the game. And I believe it was Adebayo backs into Trafford, who's come out to punch the ball away. And it's somehow, instead of giving a free kick to the goalkeeper for Adebayo backing into him, they've said that the keeper's come out and flapped at it instead, and let the goal stand when it fell to the feet of Carlton Morris. So, again, aggrieved. And then, obviously, the City game, right off, didn't really, knew we wouldn't get anything from that. But we did get a goal. I think that, in fact, David Datro Fofana came on his debut and set up Amin Al-Dakil for our only goal of the game. So at least, City didn't get a clean sheet. And then we were 2-0 down at home to Fulham. We were 2-0 down and clawed it back. So you start to think after that Luton game, okay, City right off. We should have had something at Villa. We've got that fight back against Fulham. Can we go on and do something? And it was like saying our survey said, obviously not, because next up you play Liverpool away, Arsenal at home, and Palace away. And I went to that Palace game. I wish I never did, because, just absolutely pathetic day out. We're 10 minutes late for the game. Probably would have been the best 10 minutes of football Burnley have played, and I didn't see it. But away days are about the day out. I thought after that I forgot the result. But it's just been it's been a story of optimism this year, and the more I look back at it now, I seem to think this is about learning. This, for me, Kompany was probably looking at half of his team and thinking, right, we can go out there, go make a name for yourself. You are literally 17, 18 years of age. Go out there, show the world what you can do, as well as also putting the club on the map by pushing these players to be the best versions of themselves. It's just that, I say this, but Burnley and Luton, I saw similarities in terms of Luton did an old version of Burnley and kept the core team of the squad together and put in bits of Premier League quality, though people that have played in the Premier League previous. And it nearly saved them. So, obviously, for us to go down a different route, I was thinking, if we go down and Luton stay up, I've got no grumbles with Luton doing that. But the old que sera saying came out, and just what will be, will be. We just had to take the rough with the smooth. I think it was at this point, though, after that Palace game, that I accepted maybe this is us. We're not staying up at all. Yeah.
Yeah. As you said, difficult because you're trying to find those moments of optimism where there's something happening or somebody doing something or something you can point to. And I suppose the only thing you kind of had at that stage, you said, particularly the Fulham game, was David Datro Fofana, the loan signing you had in from Chelsea, who was giving you something else. And scoring goals, so 2 in that game, and his assist in the prior. Was he probably one of the most exciting talents you saw out of your squad during the season?
Yeah, in January when we signed Assignon and Maxime Esteve, I thought, brilliant. These are 2 players we've got in on loan. Again, foreign names. Let's hope they can do something. Bulk us up a bit. And then Fofana, I don't think he had the most success at his previous loan move. So coming in, he's hit the ground running, started amazingly. So we were all like, oh, all of a sudden, eyes open, optimism's high. Play him every game, get the ball to him, do this, build a team around him, build a statue. He scored 4. And I think Fofana said it himself at the end of the season. I think something's been said between him and Kompany. And after that, Fofana just wasn't the same. He'd not be as much of a risk taker. He'd sort of hold back a little bit. And we were just like, how have you gone from this absolute beast of a player to looking like a broken man? And it turns out he said that it was something along the lines of people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones when Kompany left. So there's clearly something going on, and he said how he alienated his game after those 4 goals, and that's why it puts a lot of doubt in Burnley fans' minds with the Kompany stuff we'll talk about later. That was what happened due to thinking about himself or thinking more about the team, which it obviously throws that doubt in there. But Fofana was a very exciting prospect. Assignon was as well, and it was strange to see us signing right back and a centre back when you're a team needing goals and a drive forward. So yeah, I was happy with the business we did in January, getting through to that point. And like I say, Fofana were bearing fruits for us, but the fruits can go from ripe to sour just very, very quickly.
They can indeed, and it was it didn't continue. There were flashes of games within the season, but not so much. And as you said, sort of someone up there to score the goal, especially when Vegos is away on loan. You've got to find another option to goal scoring Euro 2024 Vegos.
He's a Dutch MVP, isn't he? He's a proper MVP.
I had a proper giggle, I got to say. I had a proper giggle when he came off the bench. It's just like, that's just typical Vegos for Netherlands.
Well, yeah. There's rumours he potentially will stay on if a certain person comes in as manager, but we will see.
We will see. One to keep an eye on over the summer for sure. And as you said, getting difficult at this point, so losses and a lot of the sort of general media and everything are starting to turn to ask questions on the style and everything else like that. As you said, Luton kind of became everyone's neutral favourites, didn't they? We all loved Luton's approach. Everybody loved Rob Edwards. They got behind the players and what they were trying to do, and because they were kind of written off, by a lot of people at the start of the season and doing a fantastic job. So they kind of had it, and the pressure was definitely building on, say, Kompany and Burnley as a club. And then, if you look at those results that you've got there, there's only 2 losses in 7. If that's early on in the season, you're going, pretty. But it's at a time when you needed 3 points, and there were so many of those draws in there outside of the win at Brentford, which was, a very good sort of win. You'd had a draw against West Ham, win at Brentford, draw at Chelsea. Was the optimism starting to creep in a little bit, going, well, we're getting points and we're doing stuff?
Yeah, it was. I'd gone from thinking, coming off that Palace game at Selhurst Park, back on the coach, just going, nah, that's us done. So all of a sudden, someone's dropped a ticket for that optimism train. I've hopped back on, realised it's not my ticket, so I've had to hide in the bogs. And I think that's sort of the best way to summarise it. I've got on the optimism train, but I'm hiding in the toilets because I haven't got a ticket. And yeah, it started to slowly build, probably up until that Everton and Brighton game where we just. I don't know. It was so strange. We've gone from getting these results to then Kompany changing James Trafford and putting Muric back in goal. So we're going, like, everyone's over the moon, by the way, thinking Muric is back in. Brilliant. Like, where do we go from here? Because it's the only thing that Kompany really hadn't changed. And I think I've said it before, under Sean Dyche, we had Joe Hart in goal. Results weren't the best. Tom Heaton came back from injury. and commanded his back four. We beat West Ham, and we went on a run of games that season. I think we stayed up. We still went down, came back up, and then got Europe. But it might have been the same season as Europe. It's been a whirlwind. Being a Burnley fan is a whirlwind.
Up and down like a pogo stick.
Oh, trust me, with no spring. But yeah, that Everton game, again, we could have got something out of that. Should have. Muric, absolute howler. And obviously Calvert-Lewin does what Calvert-Lewin does and pops it away, and we lose that game 1-0. The thing I've got to say is that if Muric was playing at the start of the season and he'd done that in the opening couple of games, by this point you would have forgotten about it, because you'd have been like, right, whatever, we moved on. This was Muric's start of the season, potentially. He's come out, he's been sat on the bench, spare legs, and then back to back, he goes and does it again at Brighton, and you just go, right, this just isn't. I don't know, a bit like a Liverpool fan. It goes from this is our year to maybe this isn't our year this year. So sorry, Josh. But yeah, we again shot ourselves in the foot. But the players still had the belief. The players still had the belief at that point that we are going to get the job done. And a lot of fans started believing the same again. Like I said, myself included.
Well, so you were fighting, weren't you? Which is what you want to see the team doing at the least, and say despite you take away those errors and it's a big difference. And obviously it was a big point of that season because James Trafford had come under a lot of criticism for obviously he was a big money signing in the summer, and it was off the back of his sort of England youth exploits, wasn't it, in the summer?
Yeah,
so
and he done very brilliantly at Bolton as well the season before in League One. So. Massive jump for him to go from a League One keeper of the season to, becoming a number one in the Premier League. It was there were a lot of eyebrows raised at that.
Particularly as well as Muric had, been for you kind of in the Championship season before, so it was a bit of a bit of a surprise.
Was top of our assists. I think Muric wasn't that far from being off the top of our assists because how quickly we transitioned from having the ball. He'd look up, see Nathan Teller on the shoulder of a defender, and the odd time pump it long, and Teller would get onto the end of it and would break and get a chance. Muric grew over that course of that season, but that's again goes to like how I said at the beginning. It was just team sheet were ripped up, and we started again, and that can really damage team cohesion and the way the team strategy works. So. You've got a big task of trying to keep players happy, and I get that. We've probably the first time we had a big squad in a long time. We used to probably having about 22 players in the season and only using that. So he had to try and keep everybody happy. Did he have to give half of the players game time? Probably not, because they weren't ready or good enough. But, c'est la vie.
This is it. And it's difficult. You got a goalkeeper was a difficult one. If you've got a goalkeeper that's struggling and you feel like you have to take him out, but then the pressure of the guy coming in, you said has been sat on the bench. It's just sod's law, isn't it? And then they get a mistake, their confidence is shot, and obviously following week again, it's just as you say. If you're in that relegation pack, it seems to be those kind of things that kind of happen. And then so leads you into, of course, Sheffield United get another battering.
It is.
Which I've seen on quite a few of these season reviews so far, if I'm honest. I was tempted. I did one with Ben on Maidenhead the other day, and I thought I'd see a win over Sheffield United in there somewhere. That's how confident I was. So, of course, a win against Sheffield United and a draw against Manchester United, but the point situation was kind of dire at this stage, wasn't it? It was starting to get to the drama, and again, not the greatest couple of fixtures that you kind of had there. So, what point were you resigned? Was it when you were mathematically done, or just ahead of that?
No, the Newcastle game was a big one. I thought if we lose this, then yeah, I've again, I'm pressing that emergency stop button on the optimism train, and I'm tucking and rolling. I might not even press the button. I might just tuck and roll. Go all action packed. But again, it was such a sucker punch to let's not forget the season we got relegated prior to the decent Championship season. Newcastle relegated us by beating us 2-0 at home at Turf Moor. So to play them again at Turf Moor, and essentially they'd be the team to, draw the sword, shall we say, was gut wrenching. But we had to go to Spurs. I feel like I'm going to go all Keegan. We had to go to Spurs and get something.
I'd love it. I'd love it if we'd have beat them.
Do you know what? We played Spurs off the park, absolutely off the park. And I don't know what it is about Pedro Porro, but he absolutely turns up against us. That season was an absolute beast, taking shots from everywhere. I think even a clearance probably was a shot for him. It was an absolute beast for him. And when they got the second, it was such a just sinking feeling. And then obviously Forest turn up. Forest record at Turf Moor hasn't been great. It's actually been very dire. I think we hold quite a lot of wins between the two sides. But just the story of the season, again, this is what I mean. We've had over 2 seasons such a Jekyll and Hyde, one of the best seasons in the club's history to one of the worst seasons in our history. And I know a lot of fans will shoot me and go, were you there at the Dundrums of Division 4 when we played Leyton Orient? Look, no, I wasn't. My mum and dad didn't even think about anything to do with me at that point. I don't even think they'd shook hands and met each other. So, yeah, it was a sucker punch. I think it was more of a sucker punch because I booked the day off work for that Forest game, hoping that there was going to be some fight there. And I watched it at home. I had a moment, wiped the tears, and I think I went to Blackpool for the day after that. So, I went to St Anne's. I watched it on the beach in St Anne's and thought, you know what? At least tranquil, calm, and completely forgetting where I was and the sun bearing down. I still have the scars of sunburn on my stomach because the sunburn was that bad. So I still have
just burning the relegation away.
I have still got relegation scars all over my stomach from sunburn.
Yeah.
So yeah,
if only you were called Lee and you would have been Burnley on that very day.
To be fair, there's been that many Reds for losses in these results that I had to go and get one extra on my stomach. Why not?
Join the club. Join the club. So yeah, it was sadly as well. The season ended with, of course, Burnley finishing in 19th and relegation, and then 8 points kind of behind Forest, who obviously had a sort of deduction as well. So there was a kind of real drift, wasn't there, in the end?
Yeah.
At the bottom of that table it was the hardest thing. The fact that you go from a season where it's elation every week, there's winning every week, there's expectation every week, and resetting the mindset, resetting in the fans' mind, if nothing else, to deal with that fact of all of a sudden then it's the opposite. It's loss after loss, and you've still got to stick there and stick behind the team. Did you find that hard, or were you kind of ready for that when you knew the Premier League was coming calling?
I think forever, whatever league I've been in as a Burnley fan, you're not one of those that goes to the games expecting a win. Even when we're in the Championship, absolutely bossing it, I still didn't go to games thinking, we're going to turn up, roll these over and go again. I mean, like I said, that Championship season, we're 1-0 down to Rotherham and we scored 2 late goals. I think it was something like 84th and then 90 plus 2. Halil Dervisoglu ended up popping up with one. That's the only one thing he did for Burnley after that, apart from sign on loan. But yeah, there's games that really threw us, and I think again, it was similar with the Premier League. You always knew that there was going to be, the class, the quality, you're not going to see much of the ball against the big clubs. You knew that you had to be patient at times, while still trying to show that quick attack, quick flow. Try and show the world that you want to be here and you want to be here on merit for playing good football. It just was a very bitter pill to take, not a pillow. I needed to smother myself with a pillow and
that's one
scream at the
bitter
end of the
pillow,
season.
yeah.
At the end of the season, pillow to the face and scream. That's the best thing I could do. But yeah, we never shouted for Kompany to leave. No one wanted him to leave. We all just thought, still a young manager, first time managing in the Premier League. You know, let's see if he can get us back promoted. Let's see what we can do when we're next back there. You know, this is a guy who's come here with a project, and let's see what happens. And a lot happened. A lot has happened.
A lot has happened, I tell you, and that sort of, I think that segues us in nicely. I think at that point to let's go into it with Kompany. So obviously, since the kind of end of the season, and so well, this is the 23-24 season review. This is big sort of hot topic at the moment. Obviously, Vincent Kompany has gone to Bayern Munich off the back of a relegation season. Even just to say it kind of is kind of absurd. And we'll start with how you feel his, should we say, his playing style in the Premier League. How I think you alluded to issues potentially with, say, Fofana had, but I think there was a lot of rumours as well, wasn't there, with some of the squad selection, the changes. There's more senior players. How did you see Kompany's season as a manager work out for you?
When you look back and you sort of analyze it as, you know, somebody who basically tries to tell the world your views on it, when you have that chance to look at it back and you realise how much he alienated such a player like Jack Cork, who'd been an ever-present in Burnley's midfield, duly based on the fact of his age, pretty much, which is really, really crappy. Because this is a guy who's had 3 spells at the club, and I thought there was too much loyalty sometimes to some of the players that he brought in. It was almost like, no, this is my squad. I built this. I built that. There was a lot of eyes more than there was a lot of us. So it's like they always say, there's no I in team, but there's me. And I think that's what Kompany very much was when you look at it now. He had his way of doing it. If I'm in his shoes, of course, I'm taking that Bayern Munich job. I mean, on the fact of how he's done it, it's almost like a make-a-wish thing that he's asked for to get from Burnley to Bayern Munich. I mean, there's Burnley fans out at the Euros now that are still not going to go to see go to Bayern Munich Stadium unless England get to the final, and even then, they're probably going to put a Kompany sticker out outside the Allianz Arena. So, it's all very, very strange, because this is a guy we headhunted as manager. This ain't just someone who's put his name in the hat when the job came available. Alan Pace was like, we want somebody, we want a name, we want someone, we want tabloids, the press, everybody to go, what? One of the most successful captains of recent Premier League era is managing Burnley Football Club in the Championship. What? And I think it did put our name out there by doing that. My issue was Alan Pace was here as a chairman and Vincent Kompany was there as a manager. There was never, chairman was above. Sometimes you can have too much loyalty and too much respect. And I think that's what Alan Pace had. And I think he'll realise that error now. He did an interview and said, you know, having Vincent Kompany as your manager is like dating the best looking girl on the estate. She's not going to marry her, but you are going to try your best to keep a hold of her, and, you know, hopefully she's with you for a long time.
But
2
years. Reality is
yeah.
she's going to leave you.
Yeah, I never thought Alan Pace would find his inner Ollie. But he went there with his, you know, acronym of what he wanted to say, and there was too much respect. He's promised that manager the world, give him the funds that he wanted. I think that's what's been a bit bitter with Burnley fans, that everything Kompany asked for, we went, it's yours. Kompany said, don't spend money on putting a lick of paint around the stadium. Don't spend money on changing them wooden seats to plastic. put the money into the pitch, and the rest will take care of itself. Unfortunately, it didn't. So, you know what? Good luck to him. Good luck to him at Bayern Munich. Fair play. You know, I can't grumble, but I think there's a bitterness there. You can't sell somebody a project that you're going to achieve. You get promoted 2 years ahead of schedule because he had a 3-year plan to build a team, build a success in the championship, and then get promoted. And he's jumped at the first hurdle, if you want to call it that. Can't grumble that it's Bayern Munich. If he'd have gone to somewhere like a West Ham or something like that, then you'd have probably been a bit like, but he's gone to Bayern Munich, so fair play to him. I hope it works out. We all know what's going to happen here. If it works at Bayern Munich, he's got a straight, simple swap over when Pep, vacates the building at Manchester City. If it doesn't work out at Bayern Munich, he's potentially another failed player who's jumped the gun at the first opportunity for a class job. The likes of Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard, they've all done it. And he can go away in the locker with them if that's how it is. But let's see. It's just strange to see a manager relegate a team playing. In fact, I think there was a Bayern Munich player who's just come out and said, I love the fact that he played that and stuck to his guns. He says, I think we need that at Bayern Munich. I'm not sure if it was David Alaba who said that, but there is a Bayern Munich player who has said something that he's glad that we've got someone like Vincent Kompany who's going to come in and stick to that philosophy. So it's strange. It's strange. We've never been a hire and fire club. So again, I worry now because we've lost Vincent Kompany. Are the players going to want to play for Burnley because the name isn't there? And at the moment, the bookies market, shall we say, there's a new favourite for the job every week. Apparently, we're close to signing an assistant manager already. I've never known us to be a club that announces an assistant manager before.
A manager, yeah. I mean, manager may come in and have other ideas and be like, thanks.
It's so strange, but it's a guy in the Norwegian leagues, if I'm not mistaken.
Ollie Gunnar something or other.
Definitely not. Definitely not. It's apparently Sweden. Sorry. Apparently, we have a new assistant manager from Sweden. Ruud van Nistelrooy is now the odds-on favourite to be the next Burnley manager, which is what I was saying. If Ruud stays, does Weghorst become a pivotal part with the Dutch connection?
Probably.
So there is that. But it's gone from him. Bo Henriksen has gone from 100 to 1 to 6 to 1 with the bookies.
It's quite a drop.
I never heard of B.O. Henriksen before. I don't know whether he smells like that or not.
Who cares how he smells as long as he's effective?
But yeah, we've got a guy apparently coming in called Henrik Jensen. He's the current manager of Swedish club Kalmar FF, and he's apparently in the process of becoming the new assistant at Burnley, which is apparently that's what's coming out from Swedish. Yeah. But he worked under Bo Henriksen at Metz or Mainz. I think it was Mainz. And one of the teams, they were languishing. They hadn't won in 13 or something. And when they were both management, they ended up finishing 5th last season.
It's strange to go, unless they're using the assistant manager to lure the manager, which is a strange kind of way of doing it. Going, you beat your mates here. You have a great time.
I think that's what we tried with Nathan Teller when we signed Michael Obafemi. I think it was give him a sweetener, give him someone to bounce off, and we'll see the best of him. But
it is strange.
Doesn't always work. Football's a funny game. So is the transfer market.
And there's lots of other clubs with lots of other ideas. That's always the thing. I think a lot of chairmen and they seem to forget that every club is doing their own faffing about and moving positions and chess pieces, aren't they? So,
look at the managerial merry-go-round we've had over the last month or 2 months.
Oh, madness. You've got new managers in at, say, Bayern Munich, at Barcelona, at Chelsea. You've got all
Dortmund has
sorts of
swapped managers.
Dortmund has shot manager, Juventus has shot manager. That's just at
Yeah.
the top table, let alone what's going on elsewhere. You've obviously got West Ham have made changes, Lopetegui coming in. There's so much going on, and the company one for me is strange because a lot of it's very difficult, I think, for a player successful as company, because there's some strong characters in that Bayern Munich team, and some of them are big winners as well. Have won, the likes of Thomas Muller's won everything, that there is to be going.
Yeah.
They're going to sort of look and go, really, we've been managed by some of these other guys, and this guy's got a philosophy in developing. Will they get behind that? Will they? I mean, the style of play I can see suiting a team that dominates the ball, like you did in the Championship. You can see that kind of link. But I mean, this is not this. This is one of the poorest Bayern Munich sides we've seen in decades, probably. They were third in the Bundesliga. I know they made the Champions League semi.
It's weird because they've got the talent there as well. They've got
names,
the talent there.
Yeah, it should be, and it's gelling those together. And if company's so fixed in that style, how is he going to adjust to the players that he's got? Because there are going to be some players you can't get rid of, and you don't want. Musiala is one of the best talents on the planet for me. Watching the Euros the other day, so you've got players like him, Harry Kane. No one scored more goals than him. So they're immediately like your two figurehead players. But if companies like, I want to play this way, and they don't fit, what's going to happen? Because I can't be still too happy with with going, well, Musiala doesn't fit, so we're going to move him on. It's not going to fly, I would imagine. But so yeah, we will see with the manager who's going to be the.
To be fair, if you're company,
is there anybody you'd
like?
Is it
you want to probably get Muller, Kane, some of the older heads in and say,
they're
look,
the guys. They need to be your men, don't they? Yeah.
You need them to be like, right, I need you to wingman me here. I need you to try and instill this belief into these young lads. You need to be essentially father figures, into these young lads. Let's get a chain of it going. I'm trusting you lot to, spearhead what we're trying to achieve. You've been there, you've done that. You know what to do. Work with me, and I'll be your best mate. I'll work with you. That's what you want to do. I'm not saying he's going to go in there mafia style and be like, no, you will work for me. But yeah, obviously, let's see what happens at Burnley. It's going to be new. I think the board want us to stick with the same of what we're doing now, philosophy wise. Playing attacking, quick football, and I think that's the sort of manager they're looking for. Which is why I was very, very astounded to see that we had apparently interviewed Steve Bruce the other week. But I'm hoping that was just
absolutely renowned for his quick style attacking.
Oh, of course he is. Of course he is.
That's how Bruce
is. Also renowned for his quick exits as well from managerial jobs. So let's not forget that either.
He's just doing the 92. That's what it is. He's just getting the pin badges now. Got to be done. I mean, do you think of the season of a whole that company? Do you put him? How high do you put him up the list in the reasons why you got relegated? Do you think how high was company and the tactical style and some of the issues in the dressing room to the overall situation?
I'd probably say you've got to say 50-50, really. I don't think you. Pardon me. I think the management. I don't know whether it was burp or just being sick in my mouth at the fact of what I'm about to say, but you've got to have some blame on the manager. It's the manager who sends them players out with a certain way of playing, certain tactic, maybe tweaking little things here and there against certain opposition. But then you've also got to look at the players. They've got to be strong enough. He's come into Burnley and essentially tried to turn a team who are so used to playing just one way. And a lot of those players didn't make the cut. They weren't good enough. Kompany got rid. And there was probably, 3 or 4 that we kept on. So yeah, there's a 50-50 of whether manager or players are to blame. I think they both work hand in hand. I dare say it, for the recruitment that we've made. Could you say poor recruitment?
Recruitment's probably got to be up there. There's a lot of players that came in, wasn't there? A lot of players that came in, and for big fees as well. So big fees for some of these. And now you're in a situation where I think you kind of have to stick to the style of those players, because you've got so many of them, and so many of them on. I don't know, what is the contract situation? Are they on long? Have some of them got release clauses for relegation, or is that going to be a problem now, trying to offload some of these or move them out?
No, essentially, I don't think it is. Like I said earlier, I think the transfer team have learnt from the mistakes of putting cheaper, fees in there. I think, looking at it, the amount of money we spent on certain players isn't good enough. Not in terms of it's not good enough. Obviously, Burnley have spent money; they brought players in. Of course, you've got to be happy with that. I think the amounts of money we've spent has been ridiculous. 16 million on Aaron Ramsey. Not the one who seems to score and kill celebrities, by the way. Not that one. The other one who, again, I think Kompany has looked at maybe the success of an England under-21s. Trafford had that. Maybe Vincent Kompany's done a bit like a football manager. He's signed a player.
Scouted a couple of games.
Yeah. He signed a player and then gone, oh, do you request a signing? Who should we sign? Dangled the guy a carrot.
Yeah. Well, my roommate at the European Championships was this guy.
He's playing in the doldrums of non-league, but trust me, he's a proper lad.
He's a top lad. Yeah, he'll be great in the dressing room.
But yeah, we've, there's at least 2 or 3 players that I'm hoping we'll potentially see the best of if they're still in claret and blue. There's a few players that I don't think have still been given a fair crack of the whip. I think Manuel Benson, who was one of the standout players to get us promoted, was not given a chance in the Premier League. Anas Sarori, who was on the far side, he was sent out on loan to Hull. So yeah, let's see what happens. It's a fresh start for everybody. Darko Cherlinov comes back from Schalke. Bailey Peacock Farrell comes back from is it Horsgaard or something in Aarhus, FC Aarhus or something in Denmark. Yeah. So he comes back from a loan move there. Wout comes back. Obviously, I know fans will say what they want, but there's
a lot of players there, isn't there? There's lots of players around that were involved in.
We loaned 13 players out. 13 players were loaned out last year. We don't even usually have that unless it's young, youth players, essentially. So the future's bright. We can say that. I think that's one thing we've got to be optimistic for. But it's about getting it right. It's all well and good saying what the future's going to be, but I'm no Baba Yaga. I'm not, I can't predict the future. So I don't know. I'm open-minded. But I think the right appointment, this is where the club needs to sit down. Don't rush it and make the right appointment. If it's Lampard, nobody wants him. But essentially, if it is, you're going to back him. And potentially it could be one of them where it's, I don't know, could re-energize his career.
Mm-hmm.
But time will tell. Even if it's somebody just that I've never heard of. As long as Alan Pace doesn't do what Robbie Savage has done at Macclesfield and gone, you know what, I'll do it myself. Then we should be all right. You'll be right. I don't know how that will work if you don't get results. How do you fire yourself?
How do you? Exactly. It's like I'm up with the board tomorrow. It's just me sat in the bathroom thinking about what I've
Sorry,
done.
Gaffer. How much have I got to spend this season?
Yeah.
You've got. Oh, it doesn't matter what you've got. It's all right. Go and do what you want.
This is it. It's a one-man show. He's going to be the canteen manager, the whole lot. It's the Robbie Savage show. No, yeah, you don't want none of that. You don't want none of that.
No.
Bit of stability. But what we do want to do is we'll go through now sort of the players and some of which we spoke about one or two. We'll go position by position, how you thought some of the players are, who's going to stay, who's going to go, kind of thing. We discussed little bit the goalkeepers. We won't spend too long on that. But see, Trafford was mainly in, and then Mewich at the end of the season. Do you think this is possibly the best thing for Trafford to have a season now in the Championship, or do you think you're still going to have that kind of battle between the two?
I think we'll lose James Trafford. I think James Trafford will get a move to a big club. I think he's going to get I don't know. Again, probably
Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I mean, they've said potentially Munich to come in for him because Kompany wants him there, but apparently Liverpool have inquired, Newcastle have inquired. A Burnley fan wrote on Trafford's Instagram actually saying, "Are you staying next season?" And he just put 2 question marks, and then some guy in the youth system at Newcastle put, "I'm hoping you come to Newcastle. Be nice to see you again, mate." And he put Margie with a wink emoji. So I don't know.
Playing the negotiation
It
games.
is. To be fair, the one thing that Kompany said about Trafford was, even through all the crap and the bad results, Trafford has this like positivity just running throughout him of, I am number one. I am the best goalkeeper. I'm going to be the best goalkeeper. I will be England's number one. I will do this. Yes, it's great to have that level of arrogance or belief in yourself, however you want to look at it. But you need performances to back it up, and the performances just weren't there in Claret and Blue.
No, and it might be a good thing for him long term. Goalkeeper that has that. It's such a young age, and to have that experience when it's difficult. I mean, you've only got to look at sort of number one now. Jordan Pickford. There was sort of years he had many loans. I think Pickford, and in his developmental years, and goalkeepers come through at different ages. So he's still got plenty.
He's a baby.
Exactly.
In terms of goalkeeper, he's a baby. They say keepers don't hit peak till between 30 and 35, and then they have that peak, and then it's a case of the decline starts to filter in, unless you're someone like Buffon, where it takes you a little bit longer. But
Buffon or Brad Friedel was the other one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They're forever and a day. They stay about. Of course, quite a few fullbacks that you had in your team. Roberts, of course, went out on loan, hence his kind of grade there. But you mentioned a senior coming in January. Any standouts for you in the fullback area?
Yeah, Charlie Taylor was, I think, Hannes Delcroix was brought in to challenge Charlie Taylor at left back, and Delcroix was probably one of the most useless, not needed signings that I have ever seen at a football club. I feel really bad saying this, but he was shocking. Like, I think he had one good game away at Spurs in the cup. And other than that, just I didn't see a footballer there. I saw a guy who won a competition to play a football match. It was all up there with that Ali Dyer, Southampton sort of stuff. But Assignon, what a player! You can tell he's one of those foreign players that does love when he's touched and he goes down in the box. He rolls around. He makes sure he flattens that grass out with every blade of his back. But Charlie Taylor, the emergence of him, the Championship season, I thought this is a guy who does not look like he's going to fit into a Kompany style of play. And he did. Vitinho, again, just grew. Fantastic player. And Burnley having a Brazilian in the squad, it's just weird. The last time I saw a Brazilian was I was quite young, and I found a certain book in a certain person's bedroom. There's a Brazilian there. There was a Brazilian in Burnley. Who'd have thought?
Brazilian Burnley. I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but
I kept it somewhat clean.
We kept it. We kept it just on the line. We stayed promoted on that one. Moving into centre backs, and centre backs, as you said, kind of an area that you had quite a big upheaval in. Last season you had Bayer and you had Herwood Bellis. Bayer's injury, Herwood Bellis not available. So in terms of the guys that you kind of had there, I mean, O'Shea was a creative force with 8 goals and a goal and assist in sort of total. But any standouts for you there?
Yeah, I was surprised that Hjalmar Ekdal didn't get more game time in the championship season. Like I say, when Harwood Bellis was out for a good few months with an injury, Ekdal or Alderkiel came in and sort of slotted him pretty well, to be quite honest with you. I thought they were pretty solid. Esteve came in, after Bayer, because we needed some sort of dominant, real tough nut at the back. And I'm so glad that when we spoke to Esteve to sign him in January, we told him the likelihood of relegation is possible. There is a clause to sign him, which I think we have activated, and it's all done. So him in the Championship is going to be one to watch if he's still here. But he said, "I don't care what division you're in. I want to get this club to where it deserves to be." He believes in what we are trying to achieve. But we can all say things 1 minute and do something the next. It's like relationships. One person tells you they love you, the next minute they're behind your back. So who knows? O'Shea was a very surprising one because I nobody had that down as a Kompany signing. Not one player thought, "What? Kompany's looking at an Irish centre back at West Brom? Are you joking?" Like, you've gone from the exotic names to an Irishman at West in the Midlands. What's But some of his defending was questionable last season, but it's a first season, so let's not also dwell on that. And he's got the stats to back it up: 4 goals, 4 assists. He bagged at the Cop end of Liverpool. I'm sure he'll love that. It's little things as a defender. You don't usually crop up with goals unless they're from set pieces. He got 2 from set pieces, and yeah, it is solid. He is solid. I think defensively we will be all right next season.
That's it. There's some solid players in there, and coming into the first of 2 pages in midfield, as you said, Cork was not a company favourite, but in the season with the issues you have. But of course, Sander Berg coming in, and Josh Brownhill was a contract extension. Did I see the other day for Brownhill as well?
Yeah, we've activated. We had a year extension if we wanted it to activate, and I'm glad the club has done that because essentially we could have lost him for nothing. So if he does still go, at least they still have to pay a fee.
It's a fee, yeah.
He is hitting 30 now, if not has hit 30. So he's going to be on that cusp of we seeing the best of Josh Brownhill. Sander Berg, I'm hoping he stays with us. I'm looking back at his history of he came up with Sheffield United, he went down with Sheffield United, stayed with them for 2 seasons, I think it was. They've ended up back promoted. Obviously came to us, but he still stayed there. And I think Berg happily believes in what we're trying to achieve. So I'm hoping he's there. Cork has been released. Obviously, I think he will come back to Burnley in some capacity at some stage of his career. But what a player he has been. Growing up, seeing him coming on loan from Chelsea in 2009, to the player he was leaving now, from a boy to a man, essentially. He was a youngster at Chelsea at the time when we loaned him. And he's left as a player who's career is ending. It's weird because I look at Jack Cork and I think he looks a lot older than like me, but there's literally 2 or 3 years, if that, between us, and I'm just like, eh. So it's strange as a fan. You always relate to these players thinking that they're older than you, and they're not.
You do when you go, oh, he's getting to the end of his career, he's getting on a little bit, and then like, yeah, he's 5 years younger than me.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I'm well over my peak, I can tell you. But talking of a few, say, hopefully still in their peak for themselves, Ramsey, Cullen, and Masengo. Cullen in particular was definitely, and that was one of Kompany's first signs because he was so critical to that system he played at Anderlecht and for you last season. How did you feel he got on in the Premier League?
He was found out at the beginning. I think he, after the season he had, winning Players Player of the Year, Fans Player of the Year, he went down as a bit of an unsung hero that promotion season. So for him to start the season and be found out, you're almost a bit like, is this where we see, the signs of cracks? But he brought him back in later on, and Cullen and Sanderberg together was just stupid. It's weird to say that it was stupendous to watch when we lost so many games, but from a midfield perspective, when we were going forward and throwing everything forward, they were very pivotal to how we played the ball, sprayed it from one side to the other. They were the key connections in the middle. And Masengo, for me, hasn't had a fair crack of the whip. He loves the town, by the way. Like, if you see his Instagram, it is mad. It is mad. He's out in every single thing you can think of in Burnley. He's had a picture outside of it. And he's like, I love this club. I love everything about it. And he's 1 minute he's up top of Pendle Hill, the next minute, and just he's outside somebody's caravan. I don't know. It's it's mad. It's mad. Some of the pictures you think he just won on bullseye. Like it's just absolute madness. But I think there's a player in there, and I think we'll get to see that next season, hopefully.
So it's some good players there in the centre midfield to give you some options next season, some hope, and one of many wingers. You loved a good winger, didn't you, this season?
Yeah.
Of course, Koleosho, as you said, I want to saw him a couple of times. Really exciting on the ball. He kind of looked one of your X factor players that you felt. When he was obviously available. Nathan Redmond, I think, came in on a free, and as you said, not so much of Benson and a Gudmundsson, who of course has been a stalwart for you as well. I think he's been released, hasn't he? As well.
Yeah, he's been released. What a player, by the way! What an absolute player! This is a guy we signed on a joint deal from Charlton with Nick Pope. And a random beef with Middlesbrough came about after signing Gudmundsson and Pope from Charlton. They'd just been relegated from the Championship. We signed Pope and Gudmundsson from them. And Middlesbrough going, when Burnley signed Gudmundsson and Nick Pope from relegated Charlton, while we're signing Victor Valdez and Alvaro Negredo. Look how that panned out. But yeah, so Gudmundsson's been an absolute stalwart for the club. Played a lot of games last season, so I was very surprised because he also had an option of us extending the contract. So I'm surprised we haven't, to be honest. But we have got a lot of wingers, so maybe again it comes down to an age factor. Redmond, I was surprised that we signed because initially we were going to sign Andros Townsend. We'd had Andros Townsend with us. He'd played in some of the friendlies and looked like he was going to sign. And then the club decided to go with Nathan Redmond instead. Why? I don't know. But again, every time Benson came on, everyone was just like, go and show us what you want to do. The mentality of Manuel Benson as well is something else. A lot of players thought he was going to, a lot of fans thought he was going to go out the door in January, and he didn't. He said, no, I want to stay here. I'm going to fight for my place, and I'm going to show you why I deserve to be at this football club. And I think the second half of the season, that's where we get those nine appearances. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's hard because I think 4 of them appearances, he's come on in something like the 87th minute when the game's dead, we're dead, and it's over. So very tough for him, but hopefully a new manager, new lease of life, and the best of Manuel Benson. Again, still only 27, so there is still a couple of years of improvement there.
Yeah, and another one is, proven in your championship season. So you got some trust in him as well. And then say second pages of your wingers as well. Say Tressor Larson and Odebear, and sort of Zaroury went out on loan eventually, but a few assists before he went as well. So what do you make of these guys?
Mark Trezor came with big tag to him. He'd just been an absolute wonder at Genk and was the assist king in that division. I think Newcastle were after him as well. Palace came in for him, and he turned Palace down and said, "I don't like the way you play. It's not attacking enough for me." Came to Burnley, I think after 15 appearances, that triggered him to sign permanently. So Mark Trezor is officially a Burnley player. Hopefully we get to see the best of him next year. Jakob Brun-Larsen, again, was a loanee with an option to buy. We wanted to sign him, but I don't think he's going to come. Same with Assignon. Apparently we want you to stay. And with Kompany going, I don't think it is. In fact, from what I've heard, Jakob Brun-Larsen is close to a move to Fulham. So, decent move for him. Very decent move for him. The lad from Hoffenheim, decent return. I always thought he was absolutely fantastic player from the bench, starting games. Wilson Odebear, very, very young. Very, very young, still learning. I almost saw a Dwight McNeil in him where you'd see glimpses of quality one game, but then he'd go missing in the next 7. So he's still a young lad. Let's just hope for the best. And I think Zaroury's going to come back with a point to prove. You've been out on loan again, new manager come in. I don't understand why he was loaned out. I don't understand why the team sheet was ripped up and started again. Why he didn't give these players a chance. But yeah, let's see what they can do. Like you said, 9 appearances, 3 assists and this is in the beginning of a season where we were doing dross. Something like there's a player there. Come on, think about that.
So they're not bad stats at all, considering the amount of attacking numbers you were kind of putting up at that stage of the season.
Massively,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Massively.
And finalising off with the strikers, the men with the goals behind them, or to say some goals in some cases more than others. But I say we touched on Fofana, scoring a few goals. As I said, Lyle Foster, he went on a bit of a run, didn't he, early on in the season?
Yeah, obviously Lyle Foster has been through quite a lot this year. I think last season, I said it to a lot of fans, everyone like, oh my God, who is this guy we've signed? He's not good enough. And I said, give him time. And I said, he'll be like Ashley Barnes. I said, he'll be a menace. He'll be shoving players left, right and centre. He'll prove to you that he's a player, I think. But the player in there won't come out till we're in the Premier League, similar to Ashley Barnes. When we signed him from Brighton, he was fighting alongside Sam Vokes. And you're a bit like, I don't think this player's going to work. Got to the Premier League and you just saw an animal. And good old Lyle Crocodile didn't do too bad with his return. To see he was out for quite a period of time with his mental health. I'm so glad to see him thriving, happy, in a good place. Probably even in a better place now. He's probably on holiday, feet up, enjoying himself.
Yeah.
Fofana, there was a player there, but obviously whatever's gone on has sort of tarnished that brush. And I'm doing his stats or something that have astounded me for a guy who went missing in pretty much every game he played in. He just somehow cropped up. It was weird, but you can see with I'm doing it that there is a player in there. And there's got to be a reason why the Switzerland fans call him the Swiss Messi. There's got to be something in that. Unless it's just the way he plays, he's very messy because that's throughout the game.
He's got nothing to do with Lionel whatsoever. It's
we said Messi with a Y, not an I. But no, there's definitely a player in there. And again, he's only 22. Still room to improve. Let's just hope that, a couple of seasons now, whatever this new management philosophy is, he's been playing as a number 10 as well instead of an out-and-out striker. So, Taylor V, I just hope for the best for these players. Rodriguez has just accepted a 1-year contract extension after nearly signing at Huddersfield. So yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. We are going to lose some of these players, by the way. I am open to that.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that though. Kompany said that players are going to come and go, but from what I've heard from hierarchy is that don't expect to have this remarkable turnaround in the transfer market this time round. You look at that squad on paper and you think decent. Burnley should have done better, but then you also look at the age of these players and think, time will tell. And I think that's why other teams will take a punt on these players after seeing what they've got. There's glimpses of the players that they can become.
This is it. There's enough. It's going to be tricky, 1 or 2, I think, aren't they? You're going to see some people come, particularly while there's the uncertainty what's going on with you guys for sure. And so there we go. That sees us through the entirety of the players, the squad, the season, and say this is the bit we've been asking people what they think for next season. So it's probably a bit difficult for you because you don't have a manager. The squad's still pretty unsettled who's going to be. But you're going back down into a championship that you had such success in just over 12 months or so ago. So I suppose what are your hopes, as much as you can at the minute without knowing some of the unknowns?
You sort of want to go straight back up. I think that's why another reason of keeping Josh Brownhill, who realised he was one of the players that stayed after the mass exodus of talent that left us when we got relegated before the success. So he'll know that, that's happened once. Why can't lightning strike twice? Let's go do it again. Let's push, thrive, go forward, and use that same mentality and drive to let's not beat ourselves up at what's happened. It's a clean slate, new start, new beginnings, new manager, a new chapter. So I hope that it's success, but we all know how hard the championship is. It is brutal. Like I say, you've got teams that can be promoted and then promoted again. You've got teams that can be languishing the season prior and then end up in the playoffs. It's such a topsy-turvy division. And that's why I think for me, the championship is up there with one of the most exciting divisions over the Premier League, I dare say it. Because the Premier League's become for me more about money. So that's why when people say, would you have loved to have stayed up financially? Yes. But on the basis of being the ball hits the back of the net, no VAR, you're just in the moment. Give me the championship hands down every week. I'm looking forward to it. And I say I'm looking forward to it as I look towards my TV screen and see Frank Lampard talking, and I'm just like,
I think,
oh no.
You only hope you're safe. He's still doing punditry, so maybe he's not interviewing.
I don't even know why I've just done that, because if Frank Lampard becomes manager, you guys are going to click that. I've just looked to the side of my screen and Frank Lampard. No.
Yeah, I can already see the GIF to add to it as well.
No. Oh no! What have I done?
Oh, classic. But there we are, Burnley season, and say thank you, Dan, for joining me for that. It's been absolutely always a pleasure to talk to you, whatever we talk to you about, even if in this case it's not quite the season you were. It's not quite as a positive chat as we were having this time last season, but
it's therapy again. It's therapy again.
It's therapy. It's what we do. And say if you love your football and you feel you need therapy week in, week out, then of course the only place to get that therapy is the Absolute Football Podcast. Look at all of those smiling faces. So during the summer, we're doing some summer reviews of specific club seasons. We are continuing with our regular shows. The Monday show, which is usually our Premier League show, we're covering Euro 2024. Wednesday show is our absolutely women's WSL and women's championship. So again, they're covering what's going on, topics, talks. Everything that's going on in the world of women's football is on a Wednesday. And on Thursday, it's the lower league, the Rowdy Rabble, which Dan will be joining next season as they cover the Championship, League One, League Two, National League, and from next season, National League, North and South. So very exciting, plenty to cover. They're also doing some Euro bits and quizzes during the summer. So don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and ensure you've got your notifications on so you do not miss an episode of what we've got coming up. But thank you, Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you. And if people aren't following the wonderful Dan, first of all, sort yourselves out. Sort it out right now. But to sort it out, Dan, where do they need to go to sort that out?
Yeah, just to see. I even tempted then. I was like thinking, which hand do I lift? But yeah, just at Turf Moorhouse. I have been a little bit quiet. I've been going through quite a bit. But it's one of them things. Life goes on, and the videos will come as soon as the football starts. I think when you have such a strenuous year, not just the football I watch as a Burnley fan, but the just having to do videos, match days, everything, the posts and stuff. It's nice to be a little bit like a player in the summer and just have that little bit of time off, recharge the batteries. But yeah, we'll get back into it. Obviously, looking forward to the release of the Championship fixtures. I think Wednesday, the 26th of this month, 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'll probably go live for that. And yeah, just thank you for the love and support that you give to this podcast. It's massively appreciated by everybody. And yeah, great work by you guys. And thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. If your ears are bleeding, I'm sorry. But yeah, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Sam, for having me.
You're absolutely welcome, mate. Absolutely welcome. We are, of course, the Absolute Football Podcast. I'm at Sam Absolute FBL. Changed it. No longer. I was at the FM Ducks, but I'm not doing Football Manager content, and the Ducks aren't involved. So it's all kind of it's a new season. It's a new genesis. The Ducks in there somewhere, but we are evolving. And so do check us out on the channel and what we're doing. But for now, thank you all for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful time in summer. Check out some of our other season review videos, and we will be back ready for the new season before you know it. But for now, enjoy your summer, and we'll catch you soon. Take it easy.